In this episode, we're summarizing the 7th episode from Season 3 of the Wire series titled Backburners. The episode first aired on November 7th, 2004. In the beginning, Omar talks to Butchie about feeling guilty after Bunk's lecture on the neighborhood's moral decline. Butchie thinks Bunk is trying to manipulate Omar. Even so, Omar cannot shake his guilt and asks Butchie to help find Officer Dozerman's weapon for Bunk. Bunk plays a prank by cutting Crutchfield's tie in the homicide unit. He then meets with Butchie at a bar, who gives him a gun wrapped in Omar's tie. Bunk returns the tie and suggests that Omar might need it in court one day. Later on, Councilman Carcetti talks to Burrell about the lack of a witness protection program. Carcetti is frustrated that the mayor has not taken action, but he promises not to mention Burrell's name. His campaign manager, Terry, advises him to meet with the mayor again and, if nothing changes, save the issue for later. Carcetti meets with Mayor Royce a second time, but Royce says there's no money for a witness protection program. Royce and Burrell have a press conference to return Dozerman's gun. Bunk, Landsman, Forster, and Rawls are all there. Meanwhile, Carcetti is writing a letter of concern. As we head over to the Western District, police officers Garrick and Herc monitor street corners in the Western District under the supervision of Major Colvin and Lieutenant Mello. Avon Barksdale and Slim Charles observe them. Slim Charles tells Avon that Marlowe has left the corners and Avon plans to take them back when the police leave. Herc recognizes Avon but cannot recall his full face and is surprised to see him free. Colvin talks to Mello and the community relations sergeant about crime statistics. Crime is lower overall, but up near the tolerant zones. Mello wants to share this as a success, but Colvin wants to keep it quiet. Bubbles goes to Amsterdam to sell t-shirts, but is shocked by the condition of the area. He encounters addicts living in empty buildings, including his friend Johnny. A fight erupts, and police officers intervene, but some officers refuse to assist. In the end, Carver simply reprimands the drug dealers for breaking the no violence rule. Herc and Carver take over in Amsterdam and notice that many of the children that used to make money as lookouts are not employed because of the new environment. They decide to charge the drug dealers a fee to support the kids. They use some of the money to buy a basketball hoop. Colvin visits Amsterdam and Carver mentions the concern about the children, suggesting that what is happening to the children is the only thing he sees wrong with the ordeal. Back at the Barksdale organization, Bernard brings new disposable phones to Shamrock, who wants 60 more by the week's end. Bernard follows Stringer Bell's rule of buying only 2 from each store. His girlfriend Squeak complains about the time spent traveling to get the phones. During their trip, she keeps pushing him to buy phones in larger quantities. When they deliver the phones, she notices that Shamrock does not even check the paperwork. Eventually, Squeak persuades Bernard to buy phones in bulk during his next trip. Later on, we see Dawnette talking to Stringer while having dinner at her place. She mentions that Brianna wants to go to the police station to talk to Jimmy McNulty about D'Angelo's death. Stringer is upset that Dawnette spoke to Brianna and asks when she plans to visit the police. Dawnette says Brianna is waiting to contact a lawyer. Stringer then talks to their lawyer, Maurice Levi, who informs him that Brianna has reached out. Levi suggests telling Avon, and Stringer agrees to take care of it. Slim Charles tells Pooh to work at one of Marlowe's corners and provides some backup for safety. Pooh is concerned about Marlowe's potential revenge. Then a member of Marlowe's crew named Snoop attacks, killing one of the soldiers in a drive-by shooting, and Pooh narrowly avoids getting shot herself. Remember, I am summarizing this entire series as well as other popular works of literature, movies, and TV shows as well. Subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss the next episode or series. If you would like to see the playlists of our summaries, click on the link in the description. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter for additional content. Click like on the video if you found it valuable, because that helps YouTube recommend it to viewers like you. Consider supporting us on Patreon if you can. Doing this helps my channel out tremendously. I thank you for your support. As we catch up with Marlowe's crew, we see Marlowe, Chris Parlow, and Snoop meet with Jamal, a young dealer in charge of watching Marlowe's pigeon coops. Marlowe discusses their plan to step back, sell drugs in bulk to other dealers, and let Avon control the street corners. Marlowe wants to wait and catch Avon off guard with Snoop. Back at the major case unit, Lieutenant Daniels informs the team that they now have new targets, Stringer Bell and Marlo Stanfield, and their work on Quintel Williamson is on hold. Sidnor and Prez are disappointed about their past efforts. McNulty, on the way to a meeting with Daniels, asks Prez to look into a woman he was with, Teresa D'Agostino, suggesting it's related to the case. Daniels suspects McNulty of being involved in changing targets through Major Colvin. McNulty admits to his disobedience, defending his decision as necessary to refocus on Stringer Bell. Daniels tells McNulty he'll have to leave the unit once Stringer is arrested. Afterwards, Freeman and Prez examine the phone Bubbles got for the unit. Prez mentions it is hard to understand the data without more knowledge of Marlowe's group. Freeman says a Barksdale phone would help map out their organization, but getting a wiretap is tough because they change phones quickly. McNulty, Sidnor, and Greggs resume their surveillance work. They focus on Bodie Broadus, waiting for him to discard a phone. Greggs remembers Bodie, but McNulty does not. McNulty suggests they go drinking as he knows an easier way to find the phone. They almost spot Avon meeting Brody. Later, Greggs returns home drunk, and Cheryl confronts her about their relationship issues. Greggs admits she agreed to have a child to avoid disappointing Cheryl, and Cheryl expresses her disappointment and asks Greggs to leave. Prez prepares a board for the Barksdale and Stanfield organization with photos of Stringer, Bodie, Marlowe, and others. McNulty, Greggs, and Sidnor show up to put their plan into action to obtain a new cell phone. Bodie and Puddin have taken over Marlowe's old turf. Shamrock suggests they move more of their drug business to Amsterdam since there are many cops watching their current corners. Bodie's crew loads up in an SUV to relocate. McNulty and Greggs follow them, stop them, and argue that they cannot be searched because they are going to Amsterdam. McNulty swaps Bodie's phone with a similar one. The drug dealers get agitated, thinking the police are breaking Colvin's promise. McNulty calls for backup, and Herc, Carver, Colicchio, and Truck head over. McNulty asks Carver about Amsterdam as he has heard Bodie mention it. Greggs also presses Carver, and he is forced to explain Colvin's plan. Colvin arrives, shares his plan with the unit, and asks them to keep it a secret. He begs McNulty not to tell the bosses, and McNulty is impressed with Colvin's approach. They go back to the detective office and hand over the phone to Freeman and Prez. Greggs asks Massey if she can stay at her place for a while. Prez shares the information he found about Teresa D'Agostino with McNulty. McNulty uses the phone number Prez got to cleverly track down her location. He goes to the fundraising event she is attending that night. McNulty feels out of place with the crowd and starts to leave, but she spots him and sets up a meeting in her hotel room after the event. McNulty arrives at the unit office where ASA Perlman and Daniels are being briefed on Freeman and Prez's findings about the disposable phones. They have figured out a communication system involving 15 different phones by studying their call patterns. Unfortunately, they could not find any user info for these phones due to the specific phone plan and company they used. They have also identified a top-level coordinator in this network. It turns out these phones are set up with numbers in advance before they are used. Freeman asks Greggs to have the Western DEU squad gather some of their phones for them. Greggs and McNulty talk to Herc and Carver, getting them involved in collecting the disposable phones. Herc mentions he saw Avon driving around, but McNulty and Greggs are skeptical. When they check on the computer, they discover that Avon has been released on parole, which surprises and upsets them. As we catch up with Cuddy, he has left the drug trade, and he goes back to his old landscaping job and talks with his boss. The boss encourages him to return to a local church, and Cuddy sets up another meeting with the deacon there. Cuddy opens up to the deacon, expressing his desire for a different life, and asks to be called by his real name, Dennis. That was episode number 32, titled Backburners. To watch the next or previous episode summary, click on the link in the description or at the end of this video. In the description, you will also find additional links for supporting our channel. I will see you on the next episode. Goodbye. We upload new videos every week, so subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to hit the like button as well.
Click the notification bell to be notified of when we upload these videos. See you on the next episode of Culture Screen.